Hi, we're Ariel.
And Michelle, and we're the Board Game Tutors. Today we're doing our Advanced Concepts video, Part 1, for the Fallen Phoenix faction from the Summoner Wars Alliances set.
Let's go ahead and get started.
All right.
So, as you can see here, this is the starting setup card for the Fallen Phoenix. All the units that you start off with at the beginning of the game. Flip that card over. You have all of the event cards for this particular faction, the turn phase summary, and also Conjuration cards, 6 of them. And the only thing you need to know about those right now, we'll go more over those in a minute or two, but they go off to the side right here. The Burning Skeleton Conjurations, you just set them aside, doesn't matter where, they just don't get mixed in with the rest of your deck here in your draw pile. So that's that. All right.
Okay.
Putting that aside.
Here we have a wall like we always do.
Now the summoner.
So his name is Immortal Elien, which is kind of funny because he can die, obviously. He has an attack value of 3, is a ranged fighter, and has 4 hit points. So he doesn't even have a lot of life. And his special ability is called Elien's Will. So I'll go ahead and read that for you. Anytime during any player's attack phase, after dice have been rolled, you may spend up to 3 magic points. For each magic point spent in this way, increase one of those die results by 1. So this is a pretty diverse ability, not terribly limited. We're going to go over the limitations in a second. But it says anytime during any player's attack phase. So we think that would probably mainly apply if you're doing a 4-player game and therefore you have another player on your side, so you might do it during their attack phase. We haven't thought of any examples when you would want to do it during your opponent's attack phase. And so you can do this, it says anytime, so you can actually do it more than once, but you can spend 3 magic at a time. And so basically Elien's Will is going to allow him to change die results simply by spending magic.
So here's one example right here. Let's say on Elien's army, he had a common unit that rolled 2 dice. They rolled a 1 and a 2. So if you spend 3 magic, and like Michelle said, you can spend up to 3 magic, and this is, again, only during your attack phase. You cannot use this during any other phase. Summon, play event cards, movement, or build magic, for example. So let's say one of Elien's common units rolled 2 dice and rolled a 1 and a 2, which are obviously misses. So if you spent 3 magic points, you could take this 1 and spend 1 magic point to boost it to a 2, spend another magic point to boost it to a 3. So you just spent 2 of the 3 magic points that you just put into your discard pile and boosted a 1 into a 3, and you use your 3rd magic point to boost this 2 into a 3. So now, where you thought your common unit was going to miss both times, now those were 2 successful attacks achieved by spending 3 magic points in 2 on this die result and 1 on this die result.
Right. So this enables Elien to have more control over what happens because die results might not come out the way he wants, but if he has the magic, he can actually modify them.
You can basically imagine Elien screaming across the board at his common unit, "You didn't miss," and then the die result changes and he actually did hit. Basically, he's that scary.
Yeah, it's pretty obnoxious if you're playing against Elien that he can just change his die results.
So, obviously, the main limiting factor on his will is whether or not he has any force behind his will, aka magic. So if you have no magic in your magic pile over here, then he has no will. So you can't change anything that way. So obviously on the first round, Elien won't have any magic, so he can't exert his will in that way. So you can use 3 magic points basically whenever dice are rolled during the attack phase. So, and a maximum of 3. So let's say, for example, this isn't going to happen with Immortal Elien's base deck of the Fallen Phoenix because he doesn't have any champion that would roll 4 dice. But let's say, for example, he had a champion and he rolled 4 dice and he got this combination. So he rolled 4 dice, he got 2, 2, 2, and a 1. So pretty bad roll overall. He can only use the 3 magic to change 3 die results. So you could change each of these into a 3. So do this, this, and I think rolling it that way. Nope, there's the 3. There's the 3. Okay, so you could change those all into 3s, but there's a fourth die that he can't change because he didn't spend 4 magic, he only spent 3, and you can only spend 3.
Yeah, so 3 at a time, basically.
So, obviously you're limited by how much magic you have in your magic pile, and if you ever have to roll more than 3 dice at once for an attack, then you can't change all the dice rolls, obviously.
Right.
So
okay.
That's that.
So that's Immortal Elien's special ability.
Okay.
Now we're going to go over the common units.
Okay.
So first we have a warrior. He has a summon cost of 2, an attack value of 2, is a melee fighter, and has 2 hit points. And his special ability is called Hellfire Step. This one's pretty straightforward. After attacking with this warrior, you may roll a die. On a result of 4 or higher, place this warrior adjacent to any fallen phoenix unit you control. So he has to have attacked in order for this to work. It doesn't have to be successful. He just has to attack.
So let's say he rolled 2 2s, so he completely missed with his 2 swords. How sad for him. So that would be that. But he did attack this turn, so now you can take one of those missed die results, roll it again to do Hellfire Step, and we got a 4. So that was successful. Now you can use his Hellfire Step move. So let's say he's all the way here in the back row of your side of the board. You can send him to the other side of the board if you have a Fallen Phoenix unit over there on the opposite side. Or let's say he's on the front lines, he's really beat up, he only has 1 health left, for example, possibly. Then you can use this ability to pull him back from the front lines and put him back on your side.
Yeah, so he can go next to any of your units.
So yeah, it doesn't matter if it's a successful attack, he just has to attack. Mm-hmm. So if your opponent tries to use Hellfire Step but did not attack with their warrior that turn, tell them that is wrong. They need to have attacked in order for that to work. All right,
so that's the warrior.
Okay, make sure I'm not grabbing too many. All right.
Okay, then we have cultists. They're a little bit more complicated.
Mm-hmm.
So the cultist has a summon cost of 2, and an attack value of 1, is a melee fighter, and has 3 hit points. And his ability is called Cursed Slash. When attacking a unit with this cultist, if at least 1 die result of 6 or higher is rolled, 1 at a time, place up to 2 wound markers on this cultist. Each time this cultist receives a wound marker in this way, place 1 additional wound marker on the attacked unit. So this might remind you of the Slash special ability, which you could have seen elsewhere. In the Cloaks faction, there's one common unit called a Slasher, and its special ability is that if it ever rolls a 6, it automatically does 3 damage. So this is kind of like that, but there's a curse involved because we're talking about the Fallen Phoenix.
So basically, as you can see here on the die results that I placed next to the card, with any attack roll that's rolled, if you get a 3, 4, 5, or 6, that counts as a successful attack, and 1 wound is administered. But for the text Curse Slash, basically what you need to keep in mind is, let's say you roll a 3, a 4, or a 5, that counts as 1 hit, and that's that. But once you roll a 6 with a slasher, then this text comes into effect. So let's show you an example of how exactly that would work. So let's say this cultist was fighting an enemy warrior. So if he rolled a 6, then let me just grab a bunch of wound markers here because this is going to get bloody. So
the 6 causes 1 damage, just like a normal 6 die result.
And like I said, a 6 was rolled. Curse Slash comes into effect. So you can choose whether or not to do this, basically.
Yeah, it says place up to 2 wounds, so you can choose 0, 1, or 2.
So if you want to, because let's say we wanted to kill this warrior, you put 1 wound on the cultist, simultaneously you put 1 wound on that warrior. You check, does that have 2 hit points? Yes, it does. 2 wounds? Yes, it does. So that is over and done with. This guy is dead and now in your magic.
And the cultist did 1 damage to himself in order to accomplish that.
But let's say, for example, this is a hypothetical scenario. You don't have to do this. But let's say this cultist already had 2 wounds on him. He rolled his die. He rolled a 6. So 1 wound would automatically be placed on that warrior. Now, the 6 effect can come into effect at this moment. So if you choose to do so, this cultist will die. Because obviously, you would place 1 wound on that cultist, like so, and you would place 1 wound on that warrior. They would both obliterate each other. So that would mean he was dead, and that would mean he was dead. And one important thing about this particular scenario would be that he would go to your magic like usual, and since you killed your own cultist, he would also go to your own magic pile as well, because you destroyed him yourself, because you're just that brutal. So, yeah. I don't like cultists as much as I like slashers, but they have a semi-useful ability.
Mm-hmm.
If they do look like weird boxers. Anyway, so that was that.
So that was the cultist.
Anything else you wanted to add, Michelle, or no?
No, I think that covered it.
Okay, let me just move these wound markers aside, this die aside. All right, next common unit.
Oh, and obviously, sorry, one more thing with the cultist. Obviously, you can't do more damage than he has life.
Right.
That's the only thing to keep in mind. So if he runs out of life without killing his opponent, that's it. Even if he's still, even if you didn't give him 2 wounds.
Like, for example, if this warrior had 3 wound possibilities, then in that scenario that we just outlined, this warrior would stay alive while this cultist would die. But like we said, this is your choice. So if you roll a 6, it's your choice to wound your own cultist.
Right. All right.
So if he's more useful to you alive, obviously, you would keep him alive in that particular situation.
Okay, so then our third common unit for the Fallen Phoenix is called a Harbinger. He has a summon cost of 2, an attack value of 2, is a melee fighter, and has 2 hit points. And his special ability is called Burning Conjuration. So this is where those skeleton conjurations come into play.
I'll go ahead and read that for you, Michelle.
Okay.
Burning Conjuration. Each time this Harbinger destroys an enemy unit, you may immediately roll a die. On a result of 4 or higher, remove a unit from your conjuration pile and place it on the space that the destroyed unit occupied. So let's use a warrior for this example. So obviously the Harbinger rolls 2 dice. Let's say he rolled a 5 or a 6. I rolled it off screen. Actually, you didn't hear the noise for that, but let's just say it was 5 and 6. So that would eliminate that warrior. He would go into your magic pile as normal, and you would roll another die. Okay, that didn't count. It was a 1.
So you would cheer if you were on the other team?
Let's say it was a 6. So that would count. 4, 5s, and 6s would count.
Right.
And a burning skeleton would take its place.
So not only did the Harbinger destroy the unit that he was attacking, but he was then able to replace it with one of his own fellow units.
With a lucky die roll, obviously.
And remember that a conjuration is kind of a special type of unit. So it's not a common, it's not a champion. It's called a Conjuration of the Fallen Phoenix.
Which we'll go over right now. Conjurations. So I'll put this aside for now.
Okay. So conjuration cards are not shuffled into your deck. Instead, each player that has conjurations listed on his summoner's reference card starts the game with that many of that conjuration in a separate conjuration pile off of the battlefield. So we already showed you that.
Whenever a card instructs a player to place a conjuration of that type, remove a conjuration from that player's conjuration pile and place it where directed. Conjurations are a new type of unit, and so are unaffected by game effects that specifically target commons, champions, or summoners. Conjurations follow all general rules for units, with this exception. A conjuration destroyed by a friendly player is placed in that player's discard pile. So the last line is the most important thing here, because obviously it's the main difference, aside from not being affected by effects and whatnot. So basically, if you, as Immortal Elien's army, decide to kill your own conjuration, you will not get any benefit from it. It will immediately go into your discard. So sometimes you might do this with some of your own units just to get the magic back, so you can use it for another champion or another unit, but with conjurations you can't get away with that. So those were the main important things about conjurations, and like we said, it goes off to the side. Right.
Okay, so then here are the statistics on that burning skeleton that you might place when you get the chance.
So no summon cost. Has an attack value of 2. It's a melee fighter and has 1 hit point.
Okay, and then so the special ability is called Magic Burn, and this is really obnoxious if you're the opponent. When this burning skeleton is destroyed, immediately roll a die. On a result of 4 or higher, place this burning skeleton in your conjuration pile instead of the destroying player's magic or discard pile. And the destroying player must discard the top card of their magic pile. So when you were playing as the Fallen Phoenix, this is talking to you, telling you to roll a die. So when your opponent destroys one of these burning skeletons, you, as the Fallen Phoenix player, roll a die. And if you get a 4 or higher, then your opponent doesn't actually get the skeleton as magic. So there we can see the die results over there. 2.
Okay, nothing.
Okay, but, so you would be relieved if you were the opponent.
But if it was a 4.
Yeah, if it was a 4.
You would groan in agony.
So then the Fallen Phoenix player would take the burning skeleton and put it back in their conjuration pile, so the opponent does not get it for their magic or even for their discard.
Over
it just
here.
Yeah, it goes away back to the conjuration pile. And when that happens, your opponent also would have to lose magic. 1 magic, right?
So that magic right there, if there was a magic card in the magic area, your opponent would lose it because you successfully rolled a 4, 5, or 6.
They also might lose it in terms of getting angry because it's really obnoxious.
Yeah, hopefully it wouldn't flip the table or anything. But anyway. So those were all of, that was the Summoner, the Walls, Burning Skeleton Conjurations, and all of the common units for the Fallen Phoenix faction from the Summoner Wars Alliances set.
So for part 2, we'll be going over the champions and the event cards, and that will be our next video.
All right, so if you guys enjoyed the content of this video, please leave us a comment, give us any feedback that you would like to give us. Also, please give us a thumb up, a like, if you enjoyed the content of this video. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Board Game Tutors, if you would like more regular content updates from us. And also check us out on BoardGameGeek.com and check out all the content that we have there as well, under the username The Board Game Tutors, one word.
All right, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in our next video.
All right, bye everybody. See you next time.
Bye.